So what I'm going to do is put you all on mute right now, but you can always unmute yourself and ask questions, comments, or use the chat box there down on the lower half. So since we're going to start with this heart opener, and this is one we were doing last month, it's a really nice way to kind of set that intention from the get-go. We'll want a pillow, a towel, and or a blanket, and then have your usual suspects as well. So if you have yoga blocks, a cushion, yoga strap, eye covering. Not sure that we'll get into all of that tonight, but it's good to have it nearby. So what we'll do is do our Supta Baddha Konasana with that really big chest lift. Now remember, if this doesn't feel comfortable, we'll modify and adjust accordingly for our body, because we all have different things going on with our body. So if you have a bolster or a pillow, we'll take that towards the front of our mat to support our legs. And then you'll either want a bath towel folded lengthwise. I have a quilt folded lengthwise, so whatever you're using. And either take your blanket or your towel and fold it one more time in half so that you have a long rectangle like this. And then you'll take one long edge and tightly roll it up so that you have a Tootsie Roll here for our blanket. We're going to take that towards the back of our mat and run it perpendicular to the mat so that there's enough space on our mat for the shoulders and the head to release to the ground. If you want a little less, use a bath towel, long rectangle, folded in half, smaller rectangle, tightly rolled up. It just needs to be able to go the length across the tips of those shoulder blades. So same thing, a little bit less. And we'll situate ourselves so that we want our low back to be nice and flat to the floor. We'll just swing our legs over our pillow here for a moment. And then we'll start to come down. So when we come down, we want our roll to hit us right at the tips of the shoulder blades so that our upper arm bones and our shoulders are going to roll over and land back down on the ground. And we will eventually cactus our arms, bending those elbows to 90 and allowing the backs of the hands to flop to the floor. So it might take one or two tries to kind of get right into that sweet spot. Make sure you lift and lengthen out that low back to the ground. And then allow those shoulders to fall back over the roll. And then bend at those elbows, backs of the hands fall towards the ground. So this is a really big lift for that heart. It's more like Salamba Matsyasana, supported fish pose, elevating the chest and the heart. Now, as far as the legs, we know these modifications, but I'll just give us a reminder. For some of us, keeping the feet planted, knees bent and together will be better for our low back, using the pillow for a little additional support. If we want to add that Supta Baddha Konasana, we'll bring the soles of the feet together, allowing the knees to open with the support of our pillow. It'll be a little less intense. Or always just stretch the legs out nice and wide, allowing the feet to flop open. So we'll give ourselves just a second here to kind of wiggle around, make the necessary adjustments, figure out where our body wants to be. We want to find the back center of the skull. Now, if the backs of those hands don't easily flop to the ground, that's normal, maybe one or both of them. So after a few deep breaths, gravity might traction out those tight muscles through the front of the chest and the heart and shoulders and allow them to eventually touch the ground. Or place props under the hands or move your hands around until you're comfortable. Now let's close our eyes. Start redirecting our attention inward and allow the whole weight of our body to relax towards the ground and allow the mind to drop down into the body. Make any adjustments here in the beginning, poof the cheeks, wiggle out the mouth, the tongue and jaw. And then we'll press that pause button here for a moment so that we can reconnect to the body, the breath, our brain, and start bringing all of those things together. So we'll start with our physical body this evening, taking a mental scan of the whole body from the crown of the head all the way out into the fingertips and toes. Continuing to relax the muscles, loosen the joints, and feeling a sense of release. Letting go of any unnecessary tension or tightness we might find. Pay special attention to those tiny little muscles across the face, the larger muscles that wrap around our waist and the abdomen, and the even bigger muscles of the glutes, the hips, and thighs. As usual, as we're checking in with our body, if we do come across areas that we might be healing or taking care of, let's pause on those areas, send a healing breath into them. And on the exhale, allowing those areas to relax as well, remembering that we practice ahimsa, or nonviolence towards ourselves and our body. Now continue to let the whole body relax, and we'll start to spread this awareness now to the rhythm of the natural breath. So simply observe and watch the body breathe. Breathing as smoothly as possible in and out through the nose. If we're elevated on top of that blanket roll, we'll really feel a nice stretch and expansion through the rib cage and the chest, especially on our inhales. And then on those exhales, let the weight of the shoulders, the legs continue to relax and feel a gentle contraction around the ribs and the belly. So since we are focusing more on the abdominal area this evening, Manipura chakra, our place of core strength, self-confidence, esteem, and willpower. And on a physical level, the place that works our digestion, improves our metabolism, and does tone and strengthen these muscles. We're going to start to move into more of a subtle abdominal breathing. We don't have the book on our belly tonight, but we'll just try to watch that rise and fall of the belly. So on the next inhale, really intentionally relax the belly and the abdominal muscles and allow it to rise. And then on that exhale, the belly drops back down into the body, and we'll add that gentle contraction, drawing the navel towards the spine. Breathing in, abdomen expands, belly rises, filling ourselves up. Breathing out, pulling that belly in, contracting. So on our inhale, as the belly expands, it allows our diaphragm to drop down, pulling that breath deep into the lower lungs. And on our exhales, we draw that belly in, it pushes the diaphragm up, expelling all that stale old air and energy out of the lungs and body. The other thing we'd like to cultivate here is Samavriti pranayama, or even equal breathing. So we'll take a few more rounds here and we'll mentally count the breath now. So when we get to our next inhale, just mentally count the number that we're breathing in. And when we get to the exhale, we'll mentally count the same number back out. Now, as we improve our breathing and increase our lung capacity, we might start to stretch this breath out by adding 1 or 2 more counts to both the inhale and exhale. And try to work with the abdomen as much as possible, even though we might feel a little bit more of our breath around this elevated heart and chest area. And then we'll all cycle through one more nice big round of breathing, our biggest breath of our day yet. So on that next inhalation, we'll just breathe in as much air as we possibly can, inflating the abdomen, continue to fill the body up into the chest, all the way to the brim in the throat. And on our next exhale, biggest breath out of our day. So we'll take the time, however long it takes, to empty every last drop, all the way from the top to the bottom. And when we get to the bottom of that breath again, gentle contraction, draw that belly in, expel all the air out. And then we will let go of trying to follow and control our breath here for a moment, so it can wander away to wherever it wants to go. Start to feel and notice the physical body, all the contact points with the ground and the props. And then start to wake the body back up, a little wiggle of the toes and the fingertips, a rock of the head side to side. Now, since we're elevated, we will take our long body stretch here, but just be mindful, this might be a little bit more intense for the shoulders on our blanket roll. If the knees are open in Baddha Konasana, float the knees up, and we'll all stretch our legs out down the middle of our yoga mat and slide those arms overhead as far as we can into our long body stretch. And then we'll point and flex the feet a couple times, spread those toes, point the toes. Reach the body side to side, making your right side a little bit longer, left side a little bit longer. And then one more big breath in here. Flex the feet, spread the toes, spread the fingertips. And then our exhale, you can just relax the arms, slide them back down. We'll walk the feet in. Now, since we're elevated, we won't pull our knees towards our chest, but we'll just try to let the feet float a couple inches from the floor. Carefully roll onto the right-hand side here, pausing for a moment in our sleeping baby pose. And then we'll turn our heart towards the ground, press down to the ground, and bring our bodies up. And then we're gonna come and sit right up into a seated posture. So we still wanna prop ourselves up on something. So if you wanna unroll your blanket or towel and use that, or if you have a cushion or whatever you're using, just try to make it as flat and firm as possible to prop our sit bones on. So we should still feel this nice opening across our chest and our heart. We can take any comfortable seated posture here. So Sukhasana, easy cross, Siddhasana, heel to heel in front of the pelvic floor. Remember, let's loosen up those waistbands. We are gonna do our 2 rounds of Kapalabhati Pranayama here. So this is our forceful exhale, passive inhale. So it's important that we're able to sit up nice and tall and the abdomen is free. Taking Chin Mudra in the hands, index finger to thumb, placing the hands on the knees with the palms up, as this is an energizing breath. So we want to receive that energy with the palms up. Float the head on top of the shoulders. So we'll do 2 rounds, about 60 minutes each. Now, since we're all at home, you can go whatever pace you're comfortable with. So if you have Kapalabhati in your practice already, you might be going a little bit more quickly and more forcefully. Remember, if you get any cramping, the breath seems labored or uncomfortable, let it go. Just like with the body, we don't force or strain the breath. And I will time us. So we'll sit up tall. Remember, on the exhale, it's a strong contraction of the abs inward. And you don't try to inhale, you just relax the belly, and it works like a vacuum to pull that breath in. So it's an exhale, exhale, exhale. And each exhale is a quick snap in of the abdomen. So this will strengthen these muscles and it will stimulate this Agni or fire in our abdomen. So we'll sit up nice and tall, relax the head on the shoulders, shoulders over the hips. Now we either fix our drishti on one point or we close the eyes and start concentrating around the belly. So just notice the belly for a moment. Inhale, notice that it gently expands. Exhale, gently try to draw it in towards the body. So we just want to make sure we're kind of in tune with that area of our body. For some of us, it might help us to place one hand on the belly. So to begin, again, inhale through the nose, exhale through the nose, and we're practicing this variation, sharp exhales out through the nose, and begin. Exhale, 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 contract, contract, contract. So you should feel that snapping in of those abdominal muscles. This is a powerful breathing. It takes some practice. We have been working on this a little bit, but if you get confused, the muscles get confused, just pause, take a break, and start over. Forceful, powerful exhale through the nose, passive inhale. Don't worry about the inhale, it should happen on its own. We're halfway there. Five, four, three, two, one. Exhale. And then release, relax. Let the breathing go wherever it wants. Simply observe and notice the body, the breath, and the brain. Noticing any sensations or feelings that we might be experiencing, and making these observations without any judgment, without labeling any of it good or bad. So we'll do a second round. It might also help to mentally count your breath. So when you start, you can just count 1, 2, 3, 4, or however fast or slow you're moving. Make sure you're sitting up tall and maintain your posture. Inhale through the nose. Exhale back out through the nose. And then begin. Exhale, 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 exhale. Contract, contract, contract. Abdomen snapping in, almost like you're about to take a punch to the belly. Halfway there. Five, four, three, two, one. Exhale. And then let it go. Try to sit in stillness, simply observing the body, the sensations or feelings we might be experiencing. And then next breath in, we'll softly start to open the eyes if they've been closed, bringing our awareness back to our surroundings. So if you feel those muscles in the belly, that's part of that practice. It's a really nice way to tone and strengthen those muscles, wake up our awareness in the area. So let's give our legs a quick break. Remember which foot is in front, because we are going to come back to a seated position here. But just for a moment, we'll stretch our legs out in front of us. We can have a micro bend in those knees if we're seated up a little higher. Give your legs a little wiggle. Let's do a couple rounds of articulation in our feet. So we're sitting tall in Tadasana, both sit bones grounded, hands beside the hips. Flex those feet, spread the toes. Try to align all of the toes in the same row, including the pinky toes. So you want to pull that lateral edge of the foot towards the calves. Breathe it in. On the exhale, we're curling the toes first, and then you're pointing the feet forward. Spread the toes first. Inhale, pull them back all in a row, including the pinky toes. Curl them up. Exhale, point them forward. If you get cramping, just back off. Spread those toes. Inhale, pull, pull, pull. Curl them up nice and tight as you can. Exhale, point them forward. Big stretch for the top of the feet. And then one more inhale, flex and pull. Feel that power all the way up the front of the legs. And exhale, let it go. All right, opposite foot in front. Let's start getting a little bit more movement in our body. Sit up tall, sit bones are grounded. Do continue to pull into those lower abdominal muscles to prop up the spine. Fingertips float up beside the body, turning the palms up. Inhale, breathing, reach both arms up nice and tall to the ceiling. Turn those palms out. Exhale, float the fingertips back down. Seated triangle, Upavishta Trikonasana, right arm only. Inhale it up. Slide along the invisible wall. Keep your right sit bone rooted, low belly in. Inhale, use your muscles to pull yourself up. Switch arms. Exhale, slide towards the right. Big stretch for the waist. Inhale, pulling ourselves up. One more time to each side. Let the neck be an extension of the spine. You may turn the drishti upwards. And one more time over to the right. And now we'll inhale, reaching both arms up. Active twist. On the exhale, maintain this length up the spine. Rotate around the spine to the right. The fingertips may float down towards that opposite knee and behind the body. Rotate the shoulders, the chin, and those eyeballs behind us. Inhale, pull everything back up to center. Exhale, big twist to the left. Keep the shoulders and chin parallel to the floor. Rotating through the shoulders, the neck, and the eyes. Stretch them out. Inhale, reach it up. Now we're going to take it one more time to the right, but we're going to hold and breathe here. So first, let the shoulders, the head, the eyes, look behind the body. Take another breath in the twist. Now on this exhale, we're going to turn just the head to look forward and try to peek over the left shoulder. So this is a nice counter twist for the neck and the shoulders. And if you drop your gaze just slightly downward, you'll get a deeper stretch up the back of the neck. Big breath in. On the exhale, we're releasing. Bring the head and the body back to center. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, rotate and twist to the left. Hold the twist. Let the head and eyes follow for a moment. Breathing, bringing it out in this direction. Inhale one more time in the twist. Hold the twist in the body. Exhale, turn just the head forward and then peeking over our right shoulder. You may keep the chin parallel or gaze slightly down towards that opposite knee to get the stretch further up the back of the neck. Breathe it in. And then on our exhale, we will release the head and the body back to center. One more time. Inhale, both arms up. Bring the palms together this time and exhale, hands to our heart. So we'll make our big transition to tabletop. However, you can move around on your mat to get there. We might need to resituate ourselves a little bit. Stacking our joints, spreading the fingers wide, hands as broad as our shoulders. And remember, we want to press into the ground so the elbow joints aren't just locked out. Stacking the knees right underneath our hips. Toes may be tucked under if we're working on that toe flexibility and then stretch a little bit more of the fascia on the soles of the feet, or flattening out the tops of the feet. Next, inhale relaxes the abdomen, and we lift and lengthen from the tip of the tailbone to the crown of the head into cow pose. Exhale, draw the abdomen in. Try to lead from the navel center tonight, and tuck the tail, tuck the chin, rounding the back up to the ceiling. Reconnect to the rhythm of your individual breath and allow that breath to guide you in and out of extension and flexion. So if you're focusing a little bit more on neck and shoulders, you can really try to melt the heart and belly at the same time, gazing forwards. And then on the exhale, really try to poof up the back of the heart, splaying the shoulder blades, and tucking the chin as much as possible to stretch out the root of the neck. If you're more tight around your hips and low back, then you're concentrating a little bit more on the pelvic region and working those anterior and posterior tilts in the pelvis. It might be a combination of everything. And remember, if one of those feels really nice for our body, there's no reason why we can't hold on to it. Maybe we need to stretch the muscles more into cat pose. Maybe we need to decompress the spine and our intervertebral discs in our cow pose. We'll balance ourselves out here. And then we'll come back to neutral. And let's give our low back and shoulders another stretch in our first child's pose. So we'll open the knees as wide as our mat, touch our big toes together. Now pulling in through the navel center, draw it back, hips to the heels. Keep the fingers wide and open the hands as wide as the yoga mat. If you want a little bit more for the chest and the heart, extend the index fingers forward. Pulling the sit bones back and down, we melt the belly, heart, and head to the floor. Now that's the more active version of Balasana. The more you reach and extend through those arms, simultaneously pulling the sit bones back, you'll create that big stretch through the lats and the side bodies. If the head doesn't touch, stack your fists or forearms into the forehead or use a prop. If this is too much on our knees, keep your hips lifted and rest more on your forearms instead. One more breath here. Next inhale floats the head and the body up, and we'll revisit our tabletop position. So we'll work our way more towards the back of our mat. We are going to do our low flow tonight, some of our back bending. We'll get into a little bit of neck release here. So we're back in our tabletop, knees underneath the hips, toes are tucked under. Let's walk our hands at least one hand's distance forward so they're at an angle. Draw those lower abdominals in, and on our inhale, we're gonna rock forward to kneeling plank. So if you need to lengthen your stance, do so. We should be in a straight line from the crown of our head through the shoulders and hip joints to our knees. Now on our exhale, we're gonna add Hasta Bandha and a bow. So we're gonna dip those hips back, pop those palms round through the knuckles. That's a nice big stretch for the chest and shoulders. Inhale, ground the hands, rock it forward, kneeling plank. Exhale, take a bow, pop the palms, drive the fingertips into the mat, grip the mat to stretch the chest and shoulders, and to give our wrists a break. Inhale, kneeling plank. One more. Exhale, take a bow. Next inhale brings us forward, and we're gonna do a couple of our chaturangas. These are half chaturangas, working the upper body strength. So on the exhale, bend your elbows straight back beside the rib cage. You don't need to go very far. Inhale, press up. So these might be micro bends. As we build up that strength, you might be able to go a little forward more and hover. Head stays in line with the spine. Good job. Let's try one more. We can do this. Little exhale to bend. Inhale, press the ground away from you. Excellent. This time we're coming all the way down. So on your next exhale, go as slow as you can without compromising the back. Come all the way down onto the belly. Chin stretches forward. Glue the fingertips together and slide the palms under the shoulders. Flatten out the tops of the feet. Open the feet wider than the hips if we take care of our low backs. Or zip the toes and legs together like a tail of a snake. Now squeeze your elbows into your ribs. And on the inhale, using the back, lift the heart. So we're pulling our shoulder blades together and down the spine, extending the crown of the head forward. The mid and lower back is working, and our glutes should be supporting characters. The legs are super strong. We are holding and breathing tonight. Press your hips into the ground. On the inhale, if you want a little bit more, lift the hands up. Keep breathing. Shalabhasana, arms, reaching the fingertips now back towards the heels. So straighten those arms out, palms are down. Ardha Shalabhasana, inhale, right leg lifts up from the glute, give it a little squeeze. Exhale down. Left leg, inhale, lift. Good, exhale down. Now repeat one leg each time, or Purna Shalabhasana. Inhale, squeeze every muscle along the backside of the body. Lift the whole body up off the mat. Just the hips are touching eventually. Big breath in. Exhale, let it go. Flop to the floor. So we either turn our head to one side, prone Shavasana, the arms flop down to the ground, palms up, the heels flop open, big toes touching. If that's uncomfortable for the neck, stack your hands and rest your forehead on your hands. Now take a big belly breath. On the inhale, let that belly expand into the ground, and that'll actually translate into our low back. If the head is turned, counter twist the head, turn it the other direction for one more big belly breath. Inhale, chin forward, palms under the shoulders. Engage through the tops of the feet, open them up nice and wide if needed. Inhale, Bhujangasana, Cobra Pose, lift the chest. Moving right into Sphinx Pose, slide those elbows straight forward underneath the shoulders. Knife the pinky edge of the hands into the ground. So remember, this upper arm bone should be stacked perpendicular to the floor, directly underneath our shoulder joints. If you take the webbing of the thumb and index finger and turn them inward, we'll be able to take a hold of our elbow creases. Now the legs can be somewhat relaxed here, so you can give the hips a little wiggle even. So this is an extension of our spine, help decompress those intervertebral discs, and it helps stretch the abs as well. So press the forearms into the ground and inhale. Try to pull the torso forward and upwards. You'll feel that stretch through the lower ribs and the belly. Gazing straight forward, we'll do a little bit of work for our neck. So take a breath in. On the exhale, turn the head to look over the right shoulder. See if you find a foot back there. Inhale back to center. Exhale, have a look over the left shoulder. Inhale back to center. Now roll interweave all 10 fingers, so a nice strong grip in the hands. Tuck those toes under, hips width apart. Practicing our forearm plank. So I want you to look at your knuckles, press into the ground, and start pulling your low ribs in, the abdomen in, the hips up and in. Keep pushing into the ground, and eventually you'll be hovering from your knees to your forearms. So the thighs are up, the hips are up, the belly is up. Be mindful of where your head is in space. You can practice just lifting one knee up at a time. Good. Or if you're ready and the back feels like it's okay tonight, you can lift both knees up and we'll hold our forearm plank here for a few deep breaths. So keep pressing into the ground, pulling those low abs in. Keep smiling and breathing, feeling that strength through our whole body. Almost there. Give me one more big breath in. And exhale. Relax back down to the ground. Hands slide underneath the shoulders. Chin stretches forward. Pull the elbows in. Tuck those toes under. Tuck the tailbone under. And again, push the ground away from you. We're trying to press back up to kneeling plank. We'll step our knees underneath our hips. And we'll take a couple tiny baby cat-cows to give our back a little stretch from our back bending. So the inhale can take us into that gentle back bend. And the exhale can tuck and round the back. And then from here, hand step one, hands distance forward. Toes tuck under, draw the navel in, and press the ground away as we lift the body up into maybe our first downward facing dog of our day. Usually one of the first poses I do in the morning to stretch everything out. But if we haven't had a chance to yet today, that's a great inversion. Just let the head float between those upper arm bones, rolling those upper arm bones away from the ears. Have a look at those feet. Toes should be pointing straight forward in a nice line with each other. On our inhale, let's float those heels up as high as we can, stretching out the toes and the soles of the feet. Exhale, sink the right heel to the ground, bending the left knee. Inhale, heels up. Exhale, drop the left heel down, bending the right knee. And then continue to pedal walk your dog as much as you need here. If one side is a little tighter than the other, you can hold on to it. Make sure you're continuing to root down through the mound of the index finger and thumbs, and that the neck is long and the head is floating. And then we'll pause for one breath in stillness here. Next inhale, looks forward, baby step or walk our feet to our hands, hands to our feet. Remember, those of us that are not practicing Uttanasana, just come up to standing and work on your mountain pose, or modify with your knees bent, hands or elbows on your thighs. Those of us in full Uttanasana, keep your feet strong, keep pulling up to those lower bandhas, Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha, pelvic floor and lower abs. You may gently sway through the shoulders, the head and neck, or ragdoll. If you have tension in the neck and shoulders, this might be a good place to release the weight of the world off of our shoulders for the day, let go of any stress or worries you may have been carrying around in those muscles. So tonight, let's roll it up so we can roll through the muscles of our back. So micro bend the knees. We'll all place our hands on our thighs with the fingers turned in. Tuck the chin in tightly, hollow out the belly, and start to roll up as you breathe in. Inhale, inhale, inhale. So we're stacking the spine one vertebra at a time. Head's the last thing to come up. We'll roll our shoulders up by our ears here. And then on the exhale, just relax them down. Allow the arms to float away from the body slightly in our Tadasana. Fix the drishti in one spot. Notice the breath. Remember, if you ever get lightheaded or dizzy, we just sit down on the ground. So those feet should still be parallel to each other. We're unlocking those knees, pulling up the quads. We can float the toes, rooting through the mount of the big toe inner heel, mount of the pinky toe outer heel. We can try to touch the big toes to the ground with the other toes up in the air. We can try to touch the pinky toes to the ground with the three toes in the middle lifted, working that third arch. Now pull up the pelvic floor, pull in the lower abs. Head is relaxed on the shoulders. Turn those palms out. Inhale, reach it up all the way to the ceiling. Bring the palms to touch, and exhale the hands to our heart. Those toes are still lifted, good job. You can soften them now. Our palm tree pose, inhale lifts the heels and the arms up to the ceiling, strengthening those ankles and feet. Palms touch, exhale, lower the heels and the hands back to heart. Let's do that just 2 more times. Nice big circling breath. Create some length in the body. 1 more. So we'll meet on our exhale when we lower down here. So from here, let's interweave all 10 fingers. On the exhale, press those palms forward and then float the arm bones up. So now our upper arm bones are beside our ears, but there's no tension in the neck, so keep the neck soft. So from here, bring the insides of the feet and legs to touch. And we'll take a variation of Ardha Chandrasana or half moon pose. So it's really important that the low belly is pulled in. This is going to help stretch out the shoulders. So we'll take a breath in. On the exhale, we'll slide down the invisible wall, leaning our upper body and arms over to our right and allow the hips to move slightly to the left. Keep squeezing the legs together and compacting the hips. This is a big lateral stretch. On the inhale, bring it back up to center. Exhale, breathe and lean over to the left. Hips move a little bit to the right. So you should be leaning against an invisible wall here with the head floating. Inhale, bring it up. Release those hands and exhale. Draw a big circle all the way back out and down. Take a big shoulder roll. Sometimes by tensing and strengthening a little bit in the area and we release, it kind of lets go. Noodle your arms side to side here. Do the little spaghetti arm type thing. Little twist in the upper body. And then just slow it down. So we're going to come into one more single leg balance pose. Garudasana. We've also been working on this pose. Garudasana might move into Virabhadrasana 3. So eagle pose into warrior 3. So in your space, you'll want to have some space. If you're going to try to tip forward at the second half of that pose, you might need to move around. We're still in the same position with the insides of the feet and legs touching. Nice compact hips, nice strong lower core. Inhale, both arms up. On the exhale, sweep that right arm all the way underneath the left. So you're trying to hook underneath the elbows. Some of us might have our shoulders, backs of the palms, or wrap our palms to touch. In this variation, we're pulling the elbows down, Fingertips below the nose if it's an option. And this is going to stretch out the top of those shoulders again. From here, I'll give us some variations. Exhale, sit back into Utkatasana. This might be where we are. Maybe cross left foot over the right foot, just at the shins. Or right foot over the left, excuse me. Right foot crosses over the left. I was mirroring you, then I turned to the side. Or the fuller version, float the right leg up, sandwich it on top of the left thigh. The right foot is either floating out in space, or it eventually wraps around the back of that left calf or ankle. And this is all about squeezing and tightening, pulling those elbows deep down into the body. If we come out of the pose, just come back to it. Think about that plumb line from the tip of the nose to the toes. So knees a little bit to the right, elbows a little bit to the left. And keep squeezing and breathing for 3, 2, 1. Inhale, we're gonna unwind as gracefully as possible and let our eagle fly. Some of us will turn into a locust, staying more upright. Right leg is straight, squeezing the back line again, squeezing the upper back. If it's okay in the low back, you may begin to tip from the hips. Now the spine should never bend, okay? You're bringing the leg up, and the leg coming up propels your torso forward, eventually turning into a capital T. We can bring the arms out wide like wings. Bring the hands into our heart center, a little bit more close to the body. Good job. Remember, if eagle falls from the sky, just flap your wings and get back up. If you want to try to extend your arms forward in Virabhadrasana 3, you may. You just need to listen to that lower back. For 3, 2, 1. Inhale, lift up to the crown of the head. Exhale, plant the foot down. Extend the arms out beside the body, pause in Tadasana. Again, simply observe and watch the body and the breath. Any sensations that you might be experiencing. And then going right to our next side. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, sweep left arm underneath the right arm. Really try to make a lot of contact there. Hands to shoulders, knuckles, or wrap those palms together. And it's a really tight squeezing in. In this variation, we're just trying to tighten and squeeze everything towards our center. Sitting back into Utkatasana. Left foot crosses over right foot, both feet touch the ground, variation 1. Or left thigh on top of right thigh, foot floats out in space. Or try to wrap that foot around the ankle or calf. And then you're tightening and squeezing. So we're working through the major joints of the body, creating a natural tourniquet effect. So we're restricting the blood flow here. We still keep breathing. Think about that straight line, knees to the left, elbows a little bit to the right. And squeeze and breathe for 3, 2, 1. Inhale as gracefully as possible, unwind and let your ego fly. You can stay in more standing locust, tightening, strengthening the back line, left leg is straight. Contracting those lower abs, you might be able to lift the left leg higher up and bring the torso parallel to the floor. Arms may extend out from the shoulders, come to heart center, or reach forward. Good job. Keep breathing. Keep your focus and concentration. Even if you come out of the pose, don't lose your concentration. Don't let it throw you off. Stay determined and focused. We're building up that courage, that self-confidence, and willpower. For 3, 2, 1. Inhale, lift up to the crown of the head. Exhale, plant the left foot. Arms float out, Tadasana. No unnecessary movements. Keep your focus. Just breathe. And then inhale, let's reach those arms all the way back up to the ceiling. Drishti to the thumbs for a gentle back bend. Exhale, hands to heart. So from here, we're gonna make a transition back down to the ground. And we're gonna end up back on our bellies, but we'll do a transition through down dog. So if you moved around for your balancing poses, let's make our way back to the top of our yoga mat. Standing with our feet hips width apart, arms floating out from the body, and head floating on top of the shoulders. Just noticing our posture here, equal weight in both feet, still remembering some of this heart opening that we created in the beginning of our practice. Inhale, reach those arms up. On this exhale, micro bend the knees, hinge from the hips, and let's go back down through our forward fold, whatever that looks like. Taking a moment here to stretch out the back of the body again to release the neck and shoulders. The inhale takes a halfway lift by lifting the chest, squeezing the upper back. This exhale plants the hands, big step back into plank pose. So we've been working on our planks. You may take kneeling plank and you may take forearm plank if that's better for you than your wrists. We're gonna hold it a little longer tonight so we can have more happy thoughts while we're here. Compact those hips, squeeze them in, pull that low belly in. Make sure that the head is in line with the spine. Staying here and breathing, or we can squeeze and lift our right leg up a few inches from the ground. Good job, bring it down. Left foot lifts, squeeze the back, pull that low belly in. Good, bring it down. Try to stretch your right arm forward. You'll lean a little bit to the left, that's okay. Bring it down. Left arm reaches forward. Bring it down. Big breath in. Exhale, you may drop to your knees first or take a full chaturanga. Squeeze your elbows back towards your ribs and lower all the way back down to our bellies. This time, flare the elbows out, stack your hands, rest your forehead on your hands here. Relax the feet out, heels flop open, and just take a breath. So plank energizes, gets the heart racing. So just let everything come back down to the ground. So we'll do our big shoulder stretch and heart opener here. This is a funky one, but it's a fun one and kind of gets into a deeper stretch than we can often do because gravity is going to help us. I honestly don't know the name of this pose. Pradavrita, Ardha, something, something. I'm just making it up. Half revolved shoulder stretch. Okay, so here's what's gonna happen. We'll start with our right arm. So you stretch your right arm straight up from your right shoulder with the palm down. Take your left hand and place it on your left shoulder. And we're gonna turn our head to look to the left. You may want a little pillow or your folded towel for your right ear to rest on once we get into the pose. Now you press into the ground with the left hand and you start to roll all the way onto your right side. So this is going to be a big stretch for the right shoulder. If the head wants some support, slide a little pillow or folded towel or something underneath the head. Now you might be balancing here on your right side with a little help of your left hand. If you want a little less, bend your left knee and allow the left knee and shin to come back down to the ground. Or bend both knees. So your knees are bent and you're resting here, just concentrating on the shoulder. If you want more, bend the left knee up and plant the left foot behind the right leg. Even more, you bring the right knee up and plant it so that both knees are bent up towards the ceiling. Now the left arm reaches up at this point. The right palm flips up and you try to bring your left palm to your right palm behind you. I actually like to keep my right leg straight into the ground and just point my left knee up. So it turns into, for some of us, a big chest stretch if you can interrevolve 10 fingers behind you. So you get your chest expansion, big shoulder stretch. One more big breath in. Now on our exhale, we gotta unwind, reversing out of the pose however we went into it. Depending what stage you're in, bring the left hand back down, roll back onto the right side, left leg straightens out, roll all the way back onto the belly, and we're gonna pause in full Makarasana or crocodile pose. So we'll reach both arms forward off the top of our yoga mat, bringing the palms together and trying to drop the forehead to the floor. And relax the feet, let the heels fall open. And just pause again here. So other side, we'll bring the right hand underneath the right shoulder and sweep the left arm right behind us from the left shoulder, palm down. And then we're gonna press into the ground so that we can roll on our left side. Have that little towel or pillow or blanket if you're gonna want it. So again, you can stay here, getting that stretch through the front of that left shoulder. The right knee and shin can drop to the ground if you want less. Both knees can bend up if you want less. If you feel like you want a little bit more, bend the right knee up and plant the right foot behind the body. Even more, takes the left knee up, both knees facing the ceiling, intense stretching. At that point, the right arm reaches up, flip your left palm up, and you bring the right hand to meet the left hand. And so you're getting this big chest opening, shoulder stretching. Don't force it. If you can't breathe smoothly and evenly, Sthira Sukham Asanam, steady, pleasant pose. One more breath. I could actually hold this side for another 15 minutes. It's really tight, it needs it. And if you discover that in your own body, one side is just, oh, you know, after practice today, revisit that side. Bringing balance back to our bodies. Breathe it in. Exhale, unwind yourself, move through all the stages to safely release the pose from wherever you are. We should all end up back on our bellies, forehead to the floor, both arms extended straight forward in Makarasana, palms touching. And then we'll slide our hands under our shoulders, chin forward, tuck the toes. Pull that inner belly away from the ground, press into the ground, and we'll push ourselves up. We can come up to a kneeling plank, bringing the knees back under the hips, and take a baby cat and baby cow, or a little bit bigger if you feel like you want it. And this time we'll try more traditional child's pose if it's available, bringing the knees and feet to touch. From there, drawing the belly in, sinking the hips to the heels. Forehead bows to the ground, hands slide all the way to the feet, flopping the weight of the arms beside the body. So letting go of any control over those arm bones, let gravity stretch out the shoulders. One more breath here. Hands under the shoulders, tuck the chin. Inhale, really try to round up all the way through the spine, vertebra by vertebra. Once the head comes up, we'll lean over to either hip and bring our feet out in front of us. So we'll move ourselves forward, and we will actually come right down onto our backs tonight to do a little bit more stimulation for our core center here, City of Jewels. Now, if you want to roll down with the knees wide and the feet planted and the fingers reaching forward, you can work your abs a little bit more there. I'm going to choose a side roll down today, a little bit more gentle for my back. So rolling to one side and just walking yourself down. If you're rolling down one vertebra at a time, really strengthen and tighten the abs. And whenever you touch down, we'll bring the head down. We'll straighten those legs out and reach our arms overhead for a moment and let that low back arch away from the ground so our abs can get a little bit of a stretch. We're not quite done. We gotta do one more powerful pose here. We're gonna do our yogi sit-ups we've been doing. So float those arms down, palms down, tuck the shoulder blades under. Step the feet in. Draw the belly in to hug the knees in. Bring the hands onto those shin bones and just gently rock it out so the low back can stretch out. Take the hands behind the thighs, stretch both legs up into waterfall pose, point and flex the feet a couple times. Press those thighs into those hands so we can get nice straight legs, opening up the eyes of the knees here, pressing the heels up, toes down. So it is the end of the day, so sometimes we find that we are a little bit more flexible than first thing in the morning, but not always. So once those legs are straight up to the ceiling, point the toes up, bring the arms back down beside the body. Option to slide the hands under the lower buttock. Just to encourage that low back to stay grounded. Low back must be on the ground the whole time. On our inhale, we take the right leg and we start to lower it towards the ground. Whatever degree you can maintain your neutral spine, the exhale moves just as slowly back up. Inhale, left leg moves away from the body. Exhale, it moves up. Mentally count your breathing. Come back to Samavriti Pranayama. So if you're inhaling and lowering for a count of 3, you should be exhaling and lifting up for a count of 3. We tend to want to rush that exhale because that's where the muscles really have to work to lift the weight of the leg up. Keep both shoulders equally grounded, the neck naturally curved away from the ground. Put a little smile on the face to take tension out of the mouth, tongue, and jaw. Let's do one more to each side. Modification is to bend the knees 90 degrees and just touch one toe at a time to the ground. After you finish that left side, bend the knees, drop the knees in, hands to shins, and just take a break, relax the belly. We should start to feel a little bit of that Agni or fire burn in our belly. Burning away any stress or worries of our day and week. Second round, arms down, hands can slide underneath the buttocks, straighten those legs up. Now you can continue with your singles or we can take double yogi sit-ups. We glue the insides of the legs to touch. On the inhale, you draw a straight line down with both legs. Don't go as far maybe. And on the exhale, same amount of time to come up. So follow your breath. Stay in control. Pull that low belly in. And you can switch it up. You can do a couple doubles. Come back to singles if you need to take a break. So let's do 2 more, 1 more of each side to side, or 2 more doubles. After you finish, bend the knees, hug them in, rock it side to side. So now we're going to counterbalance that with Sattu Bandhasan. Drop the feet to the floor, hips width apart, heels lined up with the sit bones. Those of us that have yoga blocks nearby and you'd like to place a yoga block between your inner thighs, go ahead and do so. If we don't have the prop, keep that intention there. Knees track to toes. Arms are still grounded beside the body. Make sure the shoulders are tucked under. Tighten up the back side of the body, squeeze, and we'll inhale, pressing the hips up to the ceiling. We are holding here tonight. Continue to walk the shoulders under left, right, opening up the chest and the heart again. For more of our heart opener, bring the arms underneath the body and interweave all 10 fingers, really pressing through the backs of the arm bones, but continue to activate the glutes and the hamstrings. And then the heart center can rise up and it can move towards the chin. But remember, we want to avoid tucking the chin towards the chest. Breath is easy and smooth. You can actually try to add a little bit of our abdominal breathing here and maybe even be able to catch the rise and fall of the belly and our peripheral vision. Keep pressing the ground away from you. One more big breath in. And on the exhale, release the hands and the arms, melt the body back down to the floor. So from here, we'll take more of a gentle twist to wrap up our class tonight. We'll open our feet as wide as our yoga mat with the knees bent, maybe even feeling the long edge of the mat run down the center of the feet. One more time, we'll cactus our arms out from our shoulders and allow the backs of the hands to flop to the floor. So we do feel this opening across the chest. Windshield wiper pose, breathe it in. On the exhale, allow the knees to fall over to the right here. We'll pause and breathe tonight. So you will feel your left side naturally arch up off the ground. We'll start to feel a stretch up the front of the left thigh through the hip and the waist. Turn the head to the left for a little counter twist in the neck. Now, if it's okay on the knees, you may self-adjust here by picking up the right foot and placing the right foot on the top of the left knee. That's gonna pull you deeper into the pose. Don't strain. You can also just energetically push that left knee further down or allow gravity to take you deeper into the pose. Wherever we are, close the eyes, relax the shoulders around the throat, and just take one or two more deep breaths. Next inhale, we'll bring the head to neutral, float the knees up. Now you may feel like you need to do a little scooch before you go to the other side. Make sure you start in neutral. Exhale, we allow the weight of the knees to fall off to the left. We'll feel our right side want to arch up from the ground. Over time, it might go a little higher. So a gentle twist, gentle back bend, quad and hip opener. Feeling that all the way up the front of the right thigh, the hip, the waist. Sink both shoulders into the ground, turn the head to the right to counter twist the neck. If your knees are pretty close to the ground and you feel like you want to self-adjust, the left foot lifts up on top of the right knee to pull you further into the pose. But we should never feel this pose in or around the knees. Wherever we are, close the eyes and breathe deeply one or two more times. And then our next inhale, we'll bring the head and the knees back up to neutral. You can do a little rock side to side, a little scooch. And if you feel like you need to pull the knees in one more time to stretch out the back, or even float the nose up to the knees, we can. Now it is time to flop the body back down to the ground for final relaxation. So if you want to go back to where we were in the beginning, and take your rolled blanket or towel underneath the tips of the shoulders, cactusing the arms and opening the heart. Or if you want to add the pillow underneath the legs, either for Baddha Konasana or Shavasana. Whatever you feel like you need to help the body relax and get comfortable. If you have eye coverings nearby, add those as well. So I will guide us through just a little bit more relaxation. Give us a few moments of peace and quiet. And then use the singing bowl to bring us out. Going into this pose with as much concentration and effort as we practiced every other posture tonight. Finding symmetry in the body, side to side and front to back. Finding the very back center of the skull. Poofing the cheeks with air, releasing the mouth, the tongue, the lower jaw. Allow the eyes to sink into the sockets and relax all the tiny muscles across the face. Feel the weight of the limbs sink into the ground, from the shoulders to the elbows, elbows to the wrists. Relaxing the hands, the fingertips, the centers of the palms. Relaxing the weight of the legs into the ground, from the hips to the knees, knees to the ankles. Relaxing the feet, the toes, and the soles of the feet. And then relaxing all the way around the torso, softening the chest and the heart. Relaxing down the back, around the waist, into the abdomen. Relaxing the belly completely, all of the abdominal muscles and internal organs. Relaxing the whole body. Soften and relax the inside of the body. If the mind wanders, gently bring it back to an easy, peaceful breath. Or we can rest our mind's eye at the navel center tonight. Our area of self-confidence, strength, willpower, and esteem. Giving ourselves just one more moment of today to let go, to relax, and sink into Shavasana. We'll slowly come back to the breath. And breathe life back into our body as we wake up the toes, the fingertips, gentle rock of the head side to side. Next inhale takes the arms overhead for a big stretch. Right side, left side, front to back. Spread those fingers, spread those toes. Exhale, floating the arms down, walking the feet in, and hugging those knees into the body to massage the back. Right arm falls beside the head, rolling over and pausing on our right side for a moment in Supta Balasana. And then keeping the eyes closed, pressing into the ground, bringing our body back up. We will revisit any comfortable seated posture and take just a couple more breaths together tonight. So we want to sit up nice and tall through the crown of the head on those sit bones. Be mindful of our surroundings. Reach the arms up beside the body, turning the palms up. Big breath in to reach those arms up and to gather up everything we need for the rest of our evening. Turn those palms out. Take an even bigger breath out, floating the arms all the way back down. And let go of all that other junk we don't need. And one more time, inhale, arms up. Palms touch. Exhale, hands to heart. Humbly bowing the head to the heart to honor and thank ourselves, our bodies, each other, and anyone else that made it possible for us to connect and practice our yoga together today. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om peace, peace, peace. So thank you all so much for all of your patience, for your practice, for your continued support. It is truly appreciated, and for the good suggestions. So hope that felt good for everybody.
Hey, Joanne.